Hi, how you all doing? It's Alicia here, bouncing back, natural mystic. And I've decided to do like a bit of a part two or something that I spoke about a few weeks ago and that I posted on my page. So thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, thank you for sharing, and welcome to a little bit about what's going on in here with me. So there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of planning in regards to the school to prison pipeline. And what I've mainly sort of noticed is, yeah, great work, doing great stuff, but they mainly talk about boys because of the death rate and the crime and the sorts of crimes that boys seem to be doing. However, I did an interview yesterday and it was actually made me kind of dig a little bit deeper into myself in regards to where I was going with what it is that I was saying. And it's led me to create this video today, especially, but it is quite, they say there's no coincidences, so this is just like the update of part two. So way that I see it, I'm kind of one of the first generations, perhaps, in what we would consider modern society, like from the 90s, who was groomed. Yeah, and I would say by a semi-professional organisation. Back then, it probably wasn't deemed as grooming. It would have just been looked like you've been influenced by the wrong crowd. You know, you're mixing with the wrong people, that type of thing. But maybe going back and looking at the actual situation, you don't realise that maybe you were targeted. You were plotted for and schemed against. And so what's the school to prison pipeline like for girls, for example? So that's where I'm coming from. And that's the point I'm trying to make. So I was one of those role model type pupils, students, child, didn't do too much untoward, too much, badness, behaviour and that sort of thing. Wasn't really a road gal or that sort of thing. I liked my home. And I got to a certain stage in my life where I felt like things were boring for me, to be quite honest with you. School was mundane, college, going to work, meeting the same people, doing the same things. And while working at a jewellery counter, let's just say, I kind of stumbled across a bunch of people who had been watching me for a particular length of time. And I was not vigilant, and I was not aware of my vulnerability, the fact that they were just horrible people in the world, because I hadn't actually been brought up like that or raised like that. So it was really difficult for me to, looking back now, just like, wow, I don't know how you learn those skills unless you're part of that circle, unless you've been hurt and damaged and, you live a certain life growing up as a child. When you get to like 16, 17, 18, and all you can think about is, hurting other people and robbing other people because you feel like you're part of the have-nots. So when you see somebody who's working and doing their thing, you kind of see something that you may want, that you envy, that you're jealous of, and that rather than working for it yourself, you'll just go and take it from somebody else. So quite frankly, what it was is that I used to wear a lot of gold. Gold was really popular back in the 90s. Like loads of chains, loads of rings. I wasn't really into loads of ear piercings and that sort of thing, but yeah, I literally had 2-3 rings on every finger, even thumbs, maybe 4 or 5 chains, 15, 16 bangles in each wrist. And that's purely because I worked, like I said, at a jewellery counter, so I had access to discounted stuff and, discontinued stuff and all sorts of things. So that's where my love of gold kind of came from, basically. And obviously it can be seen, and that sort of thing. But I didn't feel like I stood out or I was part of, I looked any different because everybody else around me wore loads of gold. So I didn't feel like I'd be targeted or victim. Eventually I was some guy, guy used to come in on a regular basis and talk to me and that sort of thing. And occasionally we used to go for lunch. And then one particular evening, I was leaving work and he was outside. I didn't really think nothing of it. And he told me to come around the corner. And then he told me to take all my jewellery off. And him and his friend mugged me, basically. How do I then go home and explain to my parents that the way I left the house is not the way I came back? So they were just like, where's all your gold? What's going on? What's happened? And, I made up some sort of lie, some sort of excuse that I've lent it to somebody, that I've done this, I've done that, and just kind of try to get rid of the problem. I didn't want my parents involved. I was kind of more scared of the people on the road than I was what, you know, in regards to what my parents or what my family could do to help support and back me up in this situation. And I didn't want to be a thing where, yeah, just go to the police, you know, one of them ones there. It's just not the way we do things, so we try to handle certain things ourselves. Anyway, things spiraled on after that sort of mugging incident. The same individual who removed all my jewellery, let's say, considered himself somewhat of a boyfriend, or in a weird sort of way, so we spent some sort of odd time together. I say we slept together, but it was against my will. I wouldn't say it wasn't rape, but I wouldn't say I wouldn't report it as a rape. It was just something that happened that was against my will. I didn't scream, I didn't make up any noise, I didn't try to get the person off. I kind of just wanted it to be over and done with, because I felt like that was safer for me at that time, to just go through with it rather than trying to get out of it, basically. So on that note, you know, I then met what we would consider maybe I didn't know at the time, but he was maybe the leader or the more alpha male of that circle of boys, of that circle of guys. And he kind of came in and swooped in and rescued me. You know, one of them ones there, and got me out of, yeah, you can't do that to her. Look how small she is. She's working hard. And, you know, like, you know, great white, you know, the knight on he was shining armor, come in and saves this weak and vulnerable person. You know, only lo and behold that he was kind of basically part of the whole operation of targeting certain girls during that period of time, making them, they believe that they were girlfriends, being treated nice, but all in, you know, in the background there were some really horrible things happening in regards to trafficking of products, holding products, delivering things to people, meeting up with people that you wouldn't meet, and taking bags, that, you know what I mean, packages being dropped backwards and forwards and that sort of thing. And again, because I was, you know, quiet, you know, kind of sensible, a little bit of intelligence, people use that to their advantage, quite basically. And I was naive, and I didn't have any sort of streetwise knowledge, or I didn't understand manipulation really, and I didn't really get that that's what people would do, because again, I just wasn't brought up in that way, in that environment. You know, it was very loving and it was very open. So once negative things outside of my home started happening, I found it very difficult to go back to my parents and say, you know, A, B, C's happening, this is what's happened, that's what's been said, because I didn't feel like they would understand. Kind of forgetting that they were children, they were young, they went through their madness, their rubbish, when they were my age at that point, you see what I'm saying? So, yeah, I kind of shut down and just carried on like everything was okay. Started driving, made things look completely normal on the outside, whereas on the inside there was just fear and turmoil and desperation for these people to get away from me. Ended up meeting, like I said, the wrong person during that time, who seemed like he was the right person for me at that time because of what I was going through. And it kind of just escalated, like, you know, dating seemed fun, and going out and doing certain moves on road, and hiring cars, and, you know what I mean, not even really going to parties and lavish in that way. We went like the champagne party lifestyle. But yeah, we started to buy nicer jewellery and different labelled clothing, and started moving in certain circles around a different set of people. It was all new to me. It was all exciting. And then the excitement turned to fear, panic, terror, trauma, elements of just no longer wanting to be here, because I just wanted to go back to some sense of normality, as in a regular 9 to 5, being able to sleep, not being fearful of who's knocking the door. You know, mobile phones had just come out at this stage, more or less, so we were accessible to others. We were targeted because we had phones. You know, people thought we had money, but it wasn't really like that. It was, we had nothing. So what people thought we had was just the beginning of something, if that makes sense. You know, we got involved in fraud rather than just sort of, you know, illegal substances. And there are a lot of people driving some cars that perhaps wouldn't have been able to drive them cars if we never did what we did, you know, and in the process I hurt some close family friends, and yeah, life just became really, really different, really different. So on that note, I'm gonna leave it there, I think, for a minute also, and yeah, I'll come back with the school to, or the university to prison pipeline for girls, because I think there's a few too many out there going through this, and sitting here making a video is all very well and good, but I feel like I need to like go out and start speaking to schools and having workshops and stuff, because yeah, I've been watching a lot of stuff on YouTube, I think is what it is as well, where, you know, like I've seen girls who've carried shotties and some big time things for man, and they've done some hard time, 9, 10, 12, 15 years and that, and it's like, I'm just grateful that I wasn't in that position to looking at that amount of time from what it is that I was involved in. So yeah, I'm gonna pause for a moment and just let you guys kind of digest a little bit while I kind of collect my thoughts as to how I deliver what it is that I'm going to deliver to you guys, because I want you to get the best out of me. I need you to utilize this information. I need you to look at your children, look at your daughters especially, and kind of not ask questions, but you really need to suss out who your children are, because they're very good at disguising stuff. So yeah, with that being said, I'll be back.